Today's video has been sponsored by Helix Sleep. Because of the nature of food YouTube videos, the words best and greatest get thrown around way too lackadaisically. It's usually to attract more viewers. Some channels are worse than others, and I can't talk too much because I've been guilty of it as well. But it works because as a viewer, why would you want to miss out on potentially seeing the greatest version of something? Which is why today your boy will truly try to cut through all the nonsense to find the greatest mac and cheese recipe that lives here on YouTube. Entering the ring with their culinary contributions today will be Kenji Lopez-Alt and Joshua Weissman, Good Old Tasty, and Tobias Young. All of the links to these original videos will be down in the description. Shoutouts to everybody who voted for this video idea over on my Instagram. It's David_Seymour1 if you don't follow me already. But let's get right into this one. Outside of the bacon-wrapped cheese brick abomination we did last year, this might be the most cheese ever purchased and consumed on this channel. May God have mercy on both my wallet and my insides throughout this video. But before I go to battle with any of my gastric issues, I gotta give a shout out to my friends over at Helix Sleep. For anybody keeping count at home, we are approaching a year and a half since Helix and I originally partnered up and they hooked me up with my mattress. And I am very happy to report that I'm still loving it now more than ever, and I'm very excited to introduce it to any potential newbies out there. Helix Sleep makes premium mattresses and bedding that are customized to fit your needs and are conveniently shipped right to your door. Everybody's different and Helix knows that, so they created a sleep quiz to match your unique body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. I myself took the sleep quiz, and because of my body type and the fact that I'm a back sleeper and prefer a medium to firm mattress, I was hooked up with this one, and I really think they freaking nailed it. I have not slept better than the last year and a half of my life. And if you sleep with a partner, you can take the quiz together to find something that is the perfect compromise for the both of you. I don't have that issue, but... And potentially the best part of this all is that Helix delivers your mattress straight to your door for free anywhere in the US. It comes rolled up in a box and is super easy to set up for yourself, and if it makes you nervous to buy something that you haven't tried yet, Helix offers a 100-night sleep trial, so you get more than 3 months to make sure that you love it. If you don't, they'll pick it up for you and you can get a full refund. Plus, Helix offers a 10-year warranty, financing options, and flexible payment plans, so a great night's sleep is never that far away. So if you are curious as to what Helix Sleep might have to offer to you, click the link in the top line of the description and go to helixsleep.com/DavidSeymour. You can get up to $200 off of your mattress plus 2 free pillows. And thanks so much to Helix for sponsoring today's video. Thank you very much, Ad Break David. But back to the task at hand today. Let's start out with Joshua Weissman's stovetop mac and cheese. You will need some flour and elbow pasta, salt, whole milk, cheddar cheese, Gruyere cheese, some butter, and creme fraiche. As we move along through all of these recipes, you will kind of get a sense of what I was going for. You will see that they are pretty dang different. I ended up watching dozens of mac and cheese videos, hours worth of these recipes. I wanted to try some that will be baked in the oven and then compare those to some that come together completely on the stovetop. All of these recipes have insanely different cheese selections and ratios between the different cheeses and the pasta. So we should have a pretty good mix of the methods here, and believe it or not, as I normally do, I'm starting with the simplest recipe, which for once, probably in his whole life, is Joshua Weissman. This one is as simple as grating your 2 cheeses, making your roux, adding some milk, and then the cheese, finishing with the salt and the creme fraiche, and that's it. He does show a baked version of this, which isn't that much more complicated either, but I wanted just as strong competitors with some stovetop versions as well, and I figured Joshua would be perfect for that. With all that being said, let's try this bad boy out. I still can't believe this is a Joshua recipe. It has to be the simplest one, not just I've ever seen him make. Oh yeah. This has to be one of the most just straight cheesiness in your face mac and cheeses I've ever eaten. I think the 2 cheeses that he selected were like such a genius and perfect combination. This right here has got to be the most perfect ratio of pasta to cheese sauce for stovetop mac and cheese. Kind of looks like the picture they would have on a box of mac and cheese that ends up looking nothing like. This pretty much maximizes the return on the amount of time and ingredients it calls for. I will definitely be making this again in a pinch, but I do think there's a few levels that we can get above this. The flavor, while good, is a bit one note. After a couple bites, it kind of gets a little bit boring. Because of all that, I am very excited to see what the next few have to offer. Stepping up to the plate next today are our good old buddies over at BuzzFeed Tasty. I love this Ultimate series that they've been running, being that it's given us that chocolate cake, the carrot cake, among other things. So let's see if their ultimate mac and cheese recipe, uploaded less than 2 weeks ago, will live up to the hype. You will need some heavy cream and pasta shells, some cornstarch and whole milk, salt, sharp cheddar cheese, cayenne pepper, butter, Parmesan cheese, and shredded mozzarella, some American cheese, an egg, and mustard powder. I forgot to mention this, but I wanted this video to be as pure of a comparison as possible. That's why all of these recipes simply have a pasta and a cheese sauce. There definitely will not be any vegetables or crazy toppings involved. I'm looking at you, Gordon Ramsay. It's called macaroni and cheese, not macaroni, cheese, and cauliflower. Tasty's recipe isn't too much more difficult than Joshua's. There's a couple extra ingredients involved. We're gonna bake it at the end. And this might be a controversial opinion, but I don't really have a preference between a stovetop and a baked mac and cheese. As long as the pasta is cooked well, it's super flavorful, and it's not incredibly dry and crumbly, I'm on board. For their cheese sauce, they toast up some of the cayenne and mustard powder, which I love the idea of. We are not going to use a roux. We're simply going to chop up our cheeses, the cheddar and American, toss them in some cornstarch, which will kind of evenly distribute the starch throughout the sauce to thicken it up. And then just let the oven do the rest of the thickening work, because this sauce is going to end up pretty liquid at first. I was pretty concerned about how liquid it was at first until I checked Tasty's video and made sure they had the same thing. This thing was more liquid than my after this video. Cut that out. I also love that it's gonna get topped with a layer of some mozzarella, Parmesan, and cheddar blended up. That should really add some flavor and reinforce what's going on in this dish. And then after you bake it for 20 minutes and broil it for a couple more, you're just about done. I don't think we're gonna have a bad recipe today, guys. These are all gonna be competing for the top spot for sure. Let's see how this one stacks up. That was not intentional. God, I assume it's the cheddar and the Parmesan on top and how toasted they got, but this has to be one of the like cheesiest, most pungent smelling foods I've ever experienced. This is delicious. I would be happy to have this anytime I was in the mood for mac and cheese. The shells don't make a difference to me. I don't think I really care between them and the elbows. The crispy cheese top is absolutely what makes this. There are a few things better than a blend of cheese like that that's been toasted and a little bit crunchy around the edges. It's another one of my favorite kitchen smells, although that list is getting pretty long now. I will say the cheese sauce is good, but it's not better than Joshua's, I don't think. It's not one of the best I've had. I think it might be because of the cornstarch, it might be because of the egg in there, or just the nature of a lot of baked mac and cheeses. It sets up like really firm, really fast, like custardy. And I'm surprised with all that American cheese in there that it didn't stay smoother for longer. It's a little bit on the clumpy side. It's still great though, don't get me wrong, but they can thank the cheesy top for taking the top spot. Do I think there are some better options still out there? Possibly. Now on the clock is an absolute foodie internet legend, somebody who needs no introduction, Kenji Lopez-Alt, who of course only discovered my channel and watched a video where his recipe performed poorly. I think the only time that happened, so I was thrilled to see that. But for his mac and cheese recipe, I grabbed some breadcrumbs and elbow pasta, salt, cornstarch, some Frank's hot sauce and evaporated milk, dried mustard, extra sharp cheddar, an egg, some American cheese, and butter. I almost made a last minute switch and didn't do this recipe because when I went to start it, I realized how similar it is to Tasty's. You start with 4 ounces of American cheese, 8 ounces of shredded cheddar, tossed with cornstarch. I thought we were about to have another pumpkin spice banana bread incident, but it switches up pretty drastically from here, so don't worry. Those of you who get that reference, I love you. This is actually quite a bit more work than the average stovetop mac and cheese. Once you've got your cheese mixture tossed up with the starch, you set that aside. You whip up a little evaporated milk and egg mixture to also keep to the side. And then you bring the pasta to a boil. The second it starts boiling, you have to cover it up and take it off the heat. I thought that was a very interesting cooking method. I don't think I've ever done that. And then after about 8 minutes, you strain it off, toss in your butter, as well as all the other components over a very low heat. As I was going through this recipe and keeping an eye on Kenji's website, I got a little bit of a surprise. I'm sure most of you know Kenji harbors a very accepting and loving and friendly environment over on his channel, but maybe not as much over on his website because goddamn was there an entertaining comment thread. They were fighting over whether or not this recipe worked, and it concluded with Sack Breath saying, "To the idiots with gritty or grainy, etc., do you know what a whisk is? I can't stand the internet. Everyday idiot now has a voice." I guess mac and cheese was a little bit more serious than I thought, but thank you for that chuckle, commenters. To finish off this version, I toasted off some breadcrumbs with some butter, salt, and pepper. I plated up my beautifully velvety pasta. Once again, by the looks of this, it is anybody's guess where all these recipes are gonna place today. So let's give this one a shot. I know a lot of people might immediately think of a baked, crispy top cheesy macaroni when they hear the words mac and cheese, but this might be mine. A little toasted breadcrumb, just a straight up elbow and cheese sauce. Or maybe that's just because this looks very similar to what a restaurant or a questionable diner would give you when you order mac and cheese, so either way. This is gonna be hard. Right off the bat, I like this cheese sauce more than the last one. I think it is a much better texture. It's been a couple minutes since I plated it and it's still maintaining that runny kind of drippiness. In other words, it doesn't coagulate immediately when you plate it and it doesn't become gloopy or anything. I love having the crispy, buttery breadcrumbs on top. It kind of elicits the same mouthfeel and response as having the crunchy cheese on top. This is just so simple and easy and classic and delicious to me. I could eat so much of this, but I don't know if I can choose. I've wasted so much camera battery sitting here in silence. I think Tasty still has to keep it literally only because of that topping, because of that Parmesan. I just picture myself craving that one probably a little bit more than I do this one. Extremely close though. For the first time, maybe ever, I just decided I'm taking a little intermission. I don't know if you could tell, my eyes are a little cross-eyed. It's kind of 2:30 in the morning, especially because this last recipe is a doozy. Weird coincidence that today's sponsor is Helix. I'm gonna go get some rest and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Good morning. Lastly for this one, but certainly not least, we've got Tobias Young and his award-winning Southern mac and cheese. I grabbed some whole milk and Velveeta, half and half and flour, large elbows, Creole seasoning and black pepper, pre-shredded cheddar, white cheddar, and mozzarella, seasoned salt, sour cream, paprika, sweetened condensed milk, butter, Monterey Jack cheese, a couple of eggs, and it's been a while since we had to deal with this bitch. It feels way too early for this nonsense though. But okay, if you have had the thought that any of the other recipes had a lot of cheese involved, you have seen nothing yet, my friend. We're starting with a pound of the Velveeta chopped up into cubes, and then combining that with over 3 other pounds of cheeses. That's over 4 pounds of cheese in total compared to 1 pound of pasta. That's a pretty gnarly ratio. That's why I almost fell off my chair when I heard Tobias say this in the video.
There is such a thing as using way too much cheese. You don't want to do too much, okay?
I would really love to ask him how much would be too much in his mind. In hindsight, it's actually pretty great that I was able to take a rest and give my body, my digestive system a break throughout this one, although trying to go to bed last night was not the funnest. Not to mention, we saved the absolute wildest recipe for last. This one breaks so many rules, it's hard to even count them. We're using mostly pre-shredded cheeses outside of the Monterey Jack, because I couldn't find that one pre-shredded. That's usually a big no-no when it comes to sauces because they use that anti-caking agent that can sometimes split a sauce or result in a little bit of grittiness. It starts with a ton of roux, a whole stick of butter, a half cup of flour, and then once we get the liquids in there, we're adding all the cheeses over a medium-high heat, which is very scary. If this ends up with no grittiness at all between all that roux and potentially scorching the cheese over this high heat, I will be shocked. Everything I thought I knew will be turned on its head. At the very least, this is gonna taste awesome because it's seasoned so well. It's got some sweetened condensed milk for a little sweetness. And even though it had 2 cups of liquid and some sour cream, this thing was so thick. It reminded me of like a wallpaper paste. The pasta also gets a little bit of a weird preparation. It gets boiled to an al dente, tossed with a stick of butter, and then eventually 3 scrambled eggs. This might end up being one of the most thick and rich foods I've ever experienced. And I also pretty quickly realized that there was no way my largest baking pan was going to be big enough for this. I had to find a gigantic foil pan and transferred everything to there. Just like Tobias does in the video, I left out a little bit more than a cup of the sauce, which normally I would complain about wasting, but compared to the amount of sauce we made, it doesn't seem too egregious. And then it gets topped with more cheese, more butter, and baked at 350 degrees for about 40 minutes. As with all of these, it smells incredible, it looks great, maybe the most visually appealing of them yet, so let's try out recipe number 4. Oh my lord, what a breakfast. This is pretty good. Are we surprised that this is absolutely delicious because of how much butter and cheese and fat is in there? No, I expected it to taste good, but it's seasoned so well. I love the additions of the little sweetness, the seasoned salt. I don't think I would guess that there was something in here specifically for sweetness, the sweetened condensed milk. It's kind of like adding salt to a dessert. It's not to make it taste salty, it's just to add some complexity and depth. I imagine this is gonna set up a whole lot firmer as it cools. It's still pretty damn hot right now, but the texture and consistency of this, as it is perfect for me. I kind of love the larger elbows for some weird reason. I can't think of a single bad thing to say about this, other than if you have more than what was on my plate, it might kill you. Absolutely phenomenal, definitely one of the best mac and cheeses I've ever eaten. He takes the crown for today for sure. Great job. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. If you did, leave me a like. It helps out the channel a ton. Thank you to Helix Sleep for sponsoring today's video. Thank you to all of you for understanding that I need a little rest in between. Follow me over on Twitter and Instagram if you do not already. And other than that, have a fantastic weekend. And I'll see you right back here next time. Peace.
Bring my finger cooking, chefing in that kitchen, flexing how we living, yeah. I'm cooking up that fire out in David's kitchen. They were calling me a lie, nah, they be wishing that they could have seen the fire out in David's kitchen. Yeah, we cooking up that rah, yeah, yeah. Now we eating all the fries out in David's kitchen. Yeah, we living super size, yeah.